Hi, welcome to the F1 Time Portal, a Formula One history podcast by a couple of friends that love Formula One. I'm your host, Rosa.
And I'm your Light My Fire host, Luigi. And today we're rating drivers from 1967 for our special series of Time Portal Championship. And this is part 2 and the final part. So let's go.
Light My Fire. I like that song, Luigi.
Yeah. And, obviously that song came out in 67.
Yep.
And Light My Fire, fire comes out of the back of engines, engines blow up and they turn into fire.
These links are getting more and more tenuous, but they're funny. And I like the fact that you keep trying. And we have Nacho with us again. Hello, Nacho.
Hello. So happy to be here again, ready to challenge Luigi on all his crazy predictions.
Yeah. We do have to say that this is a re-recording of our 1967 part 2 because, I had technical difficulties and my recording was lost in the ether. So if you remember, Luigi, you were getting very, very angry at some of my tipping.
That's right. I don't know if we want to relive that.
I don't know that we're going to capture the real fire of your anger again.
It's still in me because it was like you discovered Repco had done well, but this was like year 2.
No,
it was like you discovered. Yeah,
it was just too hard to separate Brabham and who's the other guy, dude?
Holm.
That's it.
Yeah, the guy that's got your surname, sort of. Yeah.
Yeah, so I decided to give Repco a shot at the championship.
Let's see how that lands.
Let's see how that goes. So, where are we up to, Louis?
We are up to race 6 of 11. This is the British Grand Prix. And should we get right into it?
Yep, let's go.
Okay, so the British Grand Prix was run at Silverstone. And in this race, we saw the green and yellow Lotuses, that is Clark ahead of Hill, qualifying in the front of the green and gold Brabhams, which is Brabham ahead of Holm. So this would have been a funny looking front sort of 4 cars. So the Lotus duo gained a big lead over the rest before Hill took the lead on lap 26. Then a screw in his suspension failed and he had to pit on lap 55. Hill's engine seized 10 laps later. Clark then took a comfortable win ahead of Holm and Eamon, the Ferrari driver having passed Brabham 4 laps from the end of the race. So a very short race review, but I think it's a reflection of maybe a somewhat processional race. We've got some long, short race reviews coming, don't worry. So we throw to Nacho for his top 3 and why.
Okay. I need to remember how this was done. Yes, number 3. I'm going to pronounce this one well for the first time, I think. Holm. There we go.
Yes.
Finally,
yes.
I got it. Look, he's not my number 3, even though he got second place, and we'll see why. Even though it was a very short review, I think, second place deserves third place.
Okay.
On second, I did put Clark, who won the race, but I'm going to give my number 1 to Hill. He had the moral win because he was beating Clark before he had all these car issues that, we know it's going to have a big impact in the championship anyway. So Hill, my number 1.
It is something to celebrate when Hill is beating Clark, especially this year.
And it's not a common thing, is it?
No.
Yeah. And let's not forget, Clark has won, this is 67, so Clark has won 2 championships, Hill's won 1. So, yeah. Yeah, so the interesting thing I was going to mention before I give my top 3, so I thought Nachos were reasonable,
Like always.
Yeah.
Solid, Nacho, solid.
Thank you.
Yes. The challenges will come later, don't worry. I just want to mention this is race 6 of the season, and just to flag, this is the first part of the season. So the way the championship was done in 67 was the best 5 results in the first part counted and the best 4 results in the second half. So so to the drivers in their mind, they know only their best 5 count for the first part. So I think it just helps to clarify that mindset a little bit.
Did we know that when we were doing the race review?
Yeah. Or we may have not mentioned it.
I don't think we mentioned that.
Okay, well, there you go.
There you go.
It's a special treat for those that listen to the TP episodes. Yeah. So for me, for my third place, I actually put Eamon in third for this race as my tip because I felt like he finally got up there. He came third in the race. He's had a tough season. He joined Ferrari at the wrong time, and the poor guy, he gets a result. He gets some points. This is the best position he gets all year. His best result is a third. So I'm giving him some acknowledgement that he got up there. I actually put Clark in second. Good win, albeit at his teammates' expense. A little bit like what Nacho said. I've also given Hill the win because this is one of the few rare times that Hill was actually ahead of Clark and beating Clark. So the poor guy, he should have won. And no doubt, I don't remember the race review specifically on this, but I'm sure Mike Lang was doing everything he could to celebrate Clark's win on this. So we're going to right the wrongs of Mike Lang's extra British bias on Clark.
He probably went and did something to that screw. Like, how does a screw come loose? I guess it can.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, this is just a throwback, Rosa, but do you remember that time when, what was it? Was it 63 or 63 British Grand Prix? And Clark and Hill were on the front row together. Hill was the defending world champion going to the British Grand Prix. And Mike Land made the famous quote, everyone was there to see Clark win. And I was like, what about the other British driver that's the defending champion?
Someone's outed himself as a Clark fan, big time.
Yeah. So I'm sure Mike Lang didn't say much about Hill's misfortune. So what about your top three, Rosa?
Well, I've chosen Amon for third. I thought that was a good fight for third. He passed Brabham 4 laps from the end, so that just shows how much he fought for that win, for that podium, sorry. I gave Repco number 2. And I'm just recognising the reliability of this car. I mean, Holm didn't have that much of a great drive and Brabham finished 4th, I'm guessing. Louis, did he finish 4th? Yeah, he must have finished 4th. So, again, I'm just putting it down to the car doing the job. And then, I can't go past Clark for the win. You know that I'm not a big Hill fan. Sorry, Damon, about your dad. But I am a massive Clark fan. So, he got pole position and he won. Okay, it was because Hill's suspension failed, but it was on lap 55 too, wasn't it? So
he was leading on lap 65.
Oh, wow.
Out of 80, and you still didn't even put him in the top 3. And
to add insult to injury, I've added a car in instead of Hill.
Yeah, not a car, an engine.
An engine.
And the engine didn't even win the race. Like, the Ford won the race. The Lotus Ford won the race.
Sketchy.
Yeah. And the Lotus Ford should have come first and second. And the Repco came second and fourth.
Yeah.
And somehow that converts into second for you.
It feels like, Luigi, you had 2 months to think about this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like he's sharpened his pencil a bit.
Yeah. And Dennis Holm came second. No recognition at all.
Yeah.
No. Okay.
Yeah, I think I was just trying to push your buttons, Luigi.
I think the listeners have come to their own conclusion that there's no button pushing going on. There's something else going on, is all I can say.
Okay, so after race 6, we have Clark in the lead on 74, Holmes second on 40, jeepers, and Repco is third on 28. Hill is 4th on 26.
Yeah, that Repco's up there. That Repco being ahead of Hill,
I know,
is all down to you.
That is so funny.
Yeah. And you said jeepers because remember, people, we haven't looked at this for a couple of months. And that's why.
Yeah, I was surprised myself.
Yeah.
I still like what you're doing, Rosa.
Thank you, Nacho. I'm pushing the edges.
Those of you may not remember this. You two may not remember this, but part of my job in this podcast is to do the quality control. I was listening recently to the 65 TP episode, and Nacho, you were in it. Do you guys remember an incident in that race that I'm still recovering from?
Oh.
Stewart was making his debut season. And
that's right.
And remember I put him twice on the podium? Yeah.
Yes.
I just want you to remember that.
Yeah.
Okay? Just remember that.
People change, Luigi. People change.
Yeah, that's right.
That was 2 years ago.
That's right. We've grown as people.
Yeah.
Or
And
not.
TP.
Or we come downhill.
We've regressed.
Yeah, okay. Well, we're up to the German Grand Prix, which is race 7 of the season. So, during practice for the German Grand Prix, Hill actually crashed and rode off his Lotus, and he escaped uninjured. Clark clinched pole position ahead of Holm, and amazingly, Formula 2 driver Jackie Ickx. That's really impressive. This track, remember, just to remind you guys, it's like let me just look at the times. We're talking about 8 minutes 15-ish for the laps. So, at the start, Clark and Holm led away with McLaren stealing third. On lap 3, Clark's rear wheel was deflating slowly and he had to back off. Gurney and the Eagle inherited the lead after McLaren retired with an oil leak. The American, as in Gurney, set a new lap record and increased his lead over Holm to over 40 seconds. On lap 13, however, his Eagle's drive shaft broke and cut through an oil pipe, which was basically handing Holm a lucky victory ahead of his teammate Jack Brabham and Ferrari driver Eamon in third again. Ickx got up to fourth before having to retire following the collapse of his front suspension. So, over to you, Nacho, for your top 3 and why.
Okay, so it might be a bit, how do you call this, hypocritical, especially of my last picks. But I think while I was kind of doing the each race review, I was going like, oh no, like, oh, this guy didn't win because reliability issues, or this one like this. Like, reliability was such a big thing. And through half of the season, I was feeling kind of bad for these people that weren't winning races because of that. But in these races something clicked on me and something changed. So I'm thinking, actually, wait, there's a Constructors' Championship also going here. So we do need to start kind of giving credit to those engineers that make cars that don't break down, right?
Nacho, if you've given points to Repco, I'm going to reach across the computer and give you a hug.
I still haven't gone that far.
Damn.
And I appreciate you, Rosa, in that sense. So first, before I say my top 3, I'm going to, just a shout out to Ickx. Like, incredible,
yes.
It does feel a bit more like what's happening in the current F1 season when all these rookies come in and they're performing really well. So, yeah, shout out to him. But yeah, my top 3 is number 3, Eamon, number 2, Brabham, and number 1, Holm. And just basically because they all finished the race with their cars intact, right? And I think this is the thing that can win you a tournament, right? Just being able to finish. So, yeah, that's it.
I think that was amazing.
It's
summary of the issues, Nacho. I totally agree.
And I agree too, but I will challenge 2 things. That just a shout out to Ickx is not points. Just saying. And you could have given him points. Ickx did a pretty remarkable job for a debut driver. So
I don't know him. I don't know. This is the first time he ever appears. I'm not just going to give out points.
But he's got a cool name. He's got a cool name though. Come on.
He does have a cool name.
Yeah, he does.
Jackie Ickx.
Just the way that it's even spelt, the ICKX. Like, it's just iconic.
Yeah, he was born with an ego. His parents had an ego, probably carried all the way through. But I was going to say, though, in relation to your comment about I agree with you about rewarding the cars that are reliable and get the cars to the finish, but it's the drivers that are the ones that are doing that. Like, there are drivers that are known to be out there more gentler on their cars than others. And I think I've said this before, Rosa, in other podcasts, other episodes, but I've made a comment that when Mansell and Prost were in the same Ferrari together in 1990, at the end of the race, Prost's car and gearbox would be in excellent condition and Mansell's would be all smashed up. So Mansell's would be pushed closer to the edge of failure, whereas Prost was more likely to get to the end. Jim Clark was in that same category, actually.
Yeah, it's true.
And so I guess the challenge here is not necessarily on you, Nacho, because I think you've done the right thing, but more on Rosa for giving it all to Repco.
No, but
when in actual fact, those drivers are driving those cars clean as well.
Yeah, but
you know?
in this era specifically, the reliability of the car played a big part, as well as how the drivers drove them. But the car did, like the Lotus in its early years was fast, but not reliable. So even though the drivers that were there to drive them fast, it wouldn't make the end of the race. So I think in this era, though, it's a different mix of reliability and driver skill.
Okay. Anyway, my top three are.
Go.
I heard you. I'm acknowledging it.
I know.
Yes.
No, you don't. You're not acknowledging it. But anyway, go on.
I am. I'm acknowledging
No,
it.
you just went, okay, and my picks are.
Nacho, did I acknowledge it?
You completely ignored it.
Thank you, Nacho.
You're like, yeah, that's fine. That's your opinion. Okay?
Yeah, that's your opinion. You're wrong.
Yeah.
That's what that.
Okay, so my picks are. I've put X for third. I said amazing qualifying and race performance before he retired. And sorry to Holm to not get any points from me despite winning the race. So I felt a little bit bad because he did inherit the win, but he was reliable. He only just missed out on getting points from me. And I actually had in first place, equal first place, Gurney and Clark. So Clark was because he led the first 3 laps, and if not for car trouble, he would have won this race. He gets moral second, but equal points to Gurney.
Nah.
And I gave Gurney first because he really should have won this race. I think Clark should have won it too, but he was after 3 laps. But Gurney was out later. Let me just see what happened to Gurney. When did he retire? Lap 13 out of 15. So that's most of the race. And so I felt like he was the moral winner too, but he wouldn't have been in that position if not Clark retiring.
I am going to challenge all this. How can you give a win or a second place, let's say call it a podium, to a driver that did 3 laps?
Yeah, 3 laps, Luigi.
Three out of 15. 3
Doesn't
by
matter.
8. That's like half an hour, like 24 minutes.
Still, like...
It's still not even half the race.
Anything could have happened, like... You can't. It's just too much, right? And you didn't even put the winner.
Yeah, exactly.
Not even
Where's Holm?
What is this?
For winning.
I'm trying to see what lead Clark had when he retired.
Not even Braham. Like what?
Yeah, that's right.
What is this?
Luigi.
It's me righting the wrongs of unreliability. Yes, Clark was a stretch. I'll give you that, but not Gurney.
We just discussed this about you. You were like, oh, Nacho, yeah, you were right about reliability. You gave this amazing speech about it, and then now you go like, fuck that.
Yeah. Now you've just like done a 180 and said, no, we're not going to worry about reliability. That's a wrong. I'm writing that wrong.
Anyway, yeah, that's.
I duly noted. Your comments are duly noted.
Acknowledge.
That is such a corporate response for I don't give a crap what you just said. All right, is it me now? Can't wait for this. Okay, so I had trouble fitting in just 3 drivers into my tips. So I've actually expanded the points to include 5 drivers. So Louis, I think in what is a move that you will appreciate, I have given X my 3rd spot and 4 points. Amazing effort in an F2 car. And it was just because suspension forced his retirement. He could have actually finished on the podium, I think.
Possibly, yeah.
Possibly. I've then split my 2nd spot between Holm and Brabham, and they've got 3 points each because Holm won the race and Brabham, he qualified 8th and he finished 2nd. So that's pretty good driving in what is a very difficult track, as we know. And then I shared my number 1 spot between Repco and Gurney. So...
And you put Repco above Gurney.
I
Even
did.
though you gave him points,
Yeah.
you did put Repco at the top.
I did. Because Repco, once again, won the battle against the Ford Cosworth, brought 2 cars home in 1st and 2nd place. And Gurney, I agree with you. He should have won, but for engine issues. I think 3 laps from the end. Is that what you said? 2 laps from the end?
Yeah.
I reckon
3
he would have
laps,
won it. He would have won it. But that, the fact that he's up there with Repco says something about how much I admired his drive for this race.
My only challenge is you put Holm and Brabham equal second and you put Repco first, but I think Holm and Brabham maybe deserved it more than Repco. Repco's up there, don't get me wrong, but I just think you're giving too much to the engine and too little to the drivers. I'm just throwing it out there. Yeah.
Noted.
Oh, noted.
Nacho, is that allowed?
Oh, no. Okay, hang on. My screen's just far. Is this race 7? Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, so after race 7, we have Clark on 81 points. Holm is on 51. Brabham is on 33. And both the Repco drivers have now overtaken Repco, and Repco is on 32. But Repco is still beating Damon Hill, who's on 26.
You know what the funny thing is? Repco's battling with the two drivers that are driving that engine.
Exactly.
And this is like 2007 when Alonso and Hamilton kept taking points off each other. This engine is taking points off. Like Holm is 30 points behind Clark and Repco has 32 points. You know what I mean? I'm just saying. So, some politics there. So even Repco would be like, no, don't put the spotlight on us. Put the spotlight on the driver. We're not gonna win the championship. We've never had a non-driver win it.
No, we haven't.
Yeah.
No.
But yeah, isn't it interesting so far? We've done 7 out of the 11 races in 67, and we all know from the race review that Holm does win this championship and Brabham comes second, and Clark is dominating.
Yeah, Clark is dominating. Yeah.
Yeah, just shows. Okay, so we're up to race 8, the Canadian Grand Prix. So Clark in the Lotus qualifies on pole position like he does most of this season, it seems, ahead of teammate Hill and championship leader Holm in the Brabham. So it had been a rainy night but a clear morning, which as a result led to a mix of intermediate and dry tyres on the grid for the race. So during the race warm-up, the rain returned and it caused a treacherous first lap. Holm took the lead off Clark and McLaren passed Clark to move up to second place. The track was then drying, and around quarter of the race mark, the dry runners started to regain their advantages, the cars that didn't have these sort of intermediate tyres. And that enabled someone like Clark, who I think was on the dry tyres, to retake second place and begin to catch Holm in the lead at over a second a lap. Then on lap 58, he caught up to and then went by into the lead. But then, right at that moment, the rain returned, and that obviously was a disadvantage to Clark and his tyres. Then Clark's engine got soaked and cut out, which I was a bit curious about, don't they have a cover? While Holm desperately needed clean goggles, so he chose to pit. This left Brabham, who was second in the championship, free to win the race over a minute ahead of his teammate Holm, who ended up coming second, and at least a lap ahead of the race, of everyone else. And Dan Gurney finished third in his Eagle. So over to you, Nacho, for your top 3 and why for the Canadian Grand Prix.
Everybody likes a race with rain, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Where is Lance Stroll when you need them?
We're recording this in 2024, by the way, just for everyone to have context of what he means.
Just after the Brazilian Grand Prix, where Lance Stroll really did not cover himself in very much glory.
Yeah. Well, anyway, number 3, I'm going to give it to the always reliable Gurney. Like, he's consistently in the points, has a reliable car, it was a really good drive, in tricky conditions. Number 2 goes to Holm. And this is even though he had to pit again, he was so close to the win. Is this where peel-off visors were made? Can you imagine? With the goggles?
Yet, yeah.
A round visor peel-off? That would have been interesting. And then, look, I give my number 1 to Brabham. He was there to take the win. Yes, it was because Holm had to pit and Clark had engine issues. But again, I'm not taking kind of car travel anymore as a consideration in my picks. So up to you, Luigi, where I'm sure you put Clark number 1, number 2, and number 3.
Yeah.
Well, I will say you're within your rights to have your own parameters. Like those of you that know me in these TPs, I've given points to people that were only in the first 1 or 2 laps and then retired because they took it to the man, so to speak, by taking the lead or something. So, yes, it's...
No, you don't agree with people setting their own parameters. I've had nothing but crap from you for 2 episodes about the parameters that I chose to apply.
Yeah,
so,
okay, I'll be more relaxed then
thank
from
you.
now on. Yeah.
Nobody believes that, though.
No.
Yeah, I'll forget that. We all know that. So I've got third Brabham. I said he was up there to snag the win, and good on him for that. That's why he gets there to get some recognition. Clark is second. Really strong race, but again, that Lotus is letting him down. He retired on lap 69 out of 90. And don't forget, he was catching home at a second a lap and doing really well, all that sort of stuff. And first, I put Holm. I felt he did the major share of leading and winning in what was a weird wet-dry race. And for Goggles to cost him the win, that's just so unfair. So I'm fixing that here and giving him the win.
How are you putting...
I'm surprised. Yeah.
Clark...
Oh, you say it. Yeah, you say it.
Sorry, no, I'm just saying, like, Clark drove his car into a pool and you give him second place? What?
Because he was in the lead.
So... Like, many drivers are in the lead at some point in the race.
Well, I gave Holm the win and he finished second. Okay. So there you go. You know,
I appreciate that.
Clark was in a boat in the end.
Yeah, well, I mean, he had ignition. They said it was his engine cut out because of the rain. So it must have been water got into the ignition system or something like that. But he may have not. He probably would have come second, I think, in the end, because if the rain came back, Holm would have won. But then Holm had to get Goggles. So that pushed him down too.
Yes, yeah. I'm surprised you put Brabham so low, that's all. Like, I would have thought Clark third and Brabham second.
Yeah, maybe I think you're right. Yeah, but I can't change it now.
Okay.
I do feel bad about putting Holm second now that you said that. But anyway, it is what it is.
Well, for my third place, I've given it to Repco. So, again, doing the job in the face of a faster Cosworth. For my second place, I've given it to Clark. Pole position, he took the lead by 58 after a great comeback drive, but his engine drowned. Oh, shit. I should have actually reviewed my tips before criticising yours, Luigi. And then I've split my number one spot between Brabham and Holm. Brabham and Holm each got 4 points, which, yeah, pretty much puts Clark on top because he's got 6 points.
No.
All right, moving on.
What is this, Clark? Like, no, Rosa.
Yeah, look. The fact that he got pole position and he did take the lead to lap 58. What did you say, Luigi? 58 of 6?
69 out of 90. 69 out of 90.
That comeback drive, he just started powering through the back markers and catching home. Damn, I sound like Luigi. Damn. That's a problem when you haven't looked at these picks for a while. Anything, Louis? Anything?
No comments.
No.
I think it's okay. I mean, yes, you've got Repco there, but I did promise I'd chill out a bit.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so after 8 races, Clark is in the lead on 93. Holmes catching up. He's on 69 and Brabham is on 49 and Repco is on 36.
Okay. That's pretty close in terms of the second place.
I don't think this season's going to see the first non-driver champion get the TP nod.
No, I don't think so either.
No.
Okay.
Right.
So we're up to what I call the longest short race review of all time. So this is written by Rosa, by the way, just full transparency here. So I'll do my best. But it's a very interesting race to discuss. So,
yes.
Yeah, here we go. So this is the Italian Grand Prix, race 9 of 11. And the Italian Grand Prix, for those of you that may recall, is the one that's got all the exciting slipstreaming and all that sort of stuff. So qualifying for the Grand Prix was disrupted by rain, but the result was not surprising because Clark scored his 5th pole position of the year ahead of Brabham and McLaren. Holmes started in 6th. The marshal starting the race used a different procedure to what the drivers were used to, which led half of the grid to essentially do a false start, but no penalties were issued. And this was in 1966. Wouldn't surprise me if there was maybe an Italian in that part of the grid that did the false start. They just let it go. I don't know. I'm sure it's not the case. So Brabham took the lead before Gurney grabbed it later in the lap. And this happens a lot in the Italian Grand Prix because of slipstreaming.
Are you going to give them
Hill
first
and Clark
place?
Followed them. I'm just having a look. On lap 3, Clark was already back in the lead, but then suffered a slow puncture. With Clark in the pits and Gurney's engine having broken, it was Holm who took over the lead. Brabham and Hill then formed a close trio with Holm, and the lead swapped hands a number of times. Clark had lost a full lap while in the pits, but managed to unlap himself with 2/3 of the race still to go and quickly set a new lap record. Holm retired with an overheating engine, and Hill took advantage from Clark's slipstream to open up the gap to Brabham at 2 seconds per lap, until on lap 58, Hill's engine exploded. This is a 68-lap race. Hill's with this going off nearly there, guys. With his rivals' retirements topped with his maniacal pace, this brought Clark up to second place. Remember, he was a lap down. With leader Brabham in his sights and Honda driver Surtees in third place. So on lap 60, Clark actually grabbed the lead and gained a 3-second advantage very quickly until he dramatically ran out of fuel. Surtees then took the lead and was side by side with Brabham going into the last corner. Brabham dove to the inside but slid wide, and Surtees crossed the line. Surtees crossed back, took the lead, and took the win by a margin of just 0.2 seconds ahead of Brabham. And it would be Honda's last win until 2006.
Wow.
As a team, because the engine obviously won races. Clark closed it over the line in third place.
Ooh, this is a hard one.
It is a hard one because pretty remarkable driving in there.
Are you going to put like 5 drivers on the first place? Because they're all being like... There's like a lap lead.
Yeah, well, it's going to be hard for Louis. Exactly.
It's okay. I'm anxious to see your picks.
Okay, you're first, Nacho. Your top 3. And why?
Okay, number 3 goes for Brabham. I can't imagine his frustration of like being so close, but just missing out on a 0.2 from the win, right? Can you imagine like being there and these two cars just going really close to each other? So, well, because of that, he gets my third place. Second place goes to Surtees. And I must say, what a stat that Honda won't win until 2006. And imagine, like, if they knew how many races they would win later on with Red Bull. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Yes.
And McLaren.
And McLaren, yes.
Yeah.
Everybody wants a Honda engine now.
Yes.
And not 90s McLaren, not late 80s, 90s McLaren,
Yeah,
not
not
the
now.
the 2015-ish McLaren.
No.
And my first, obviously, has to go to Clark. He finished the race, so that's number 1, tick. But, I mean, getting to third by being a lap down, that is incredible. So, like, that's a stellar performance. So he has to have my number 1 pick.
I think it's a good pick. And good on you for acknowledging that I like how you said first to sort of cover yourself for getting to the finish. That's now your new requirement.
Yeah.
If you don't see them in the final finishing positions, you don't even consider them. Even if they retire on the last lap. It means nothing to Nacho.
No. It means nothing to anybody because they're not in the top 3 in the podium in the history books, you know? So they get 0 points, 0 points.
We can talk about this forever, like the righting the wrongs, this and that. But that's okay. We've all got that's why we're here, to balance each other out, isn't it? So I've got Surtees in third. I sort of regret using the word lucky because he worked hard for the win. He obviously chased down Brabham and had a good battle with him at the end. So I wrote lucky, but took it against the great Brabham. But I just wish I didn't say lucky. So he took it to him, and good on him for third place in my books. I gave Clark second place for getting into the lead right near the end and catching up a whole lap. And I put Clark in first place.
What?
Because he was in the lead before his incident happened, and he recaptured that lead, and he helped his teammate Hill, pulling away 2 seconds a lap by giving him a slipstream. So I felt like Clark, the reason why I gave him 1 and 2 was I felt like Clark won this race twice and was caught out by the fuel. But having said that, I also acknowledge he ran out of fuel because he was gunning it more than anyone else.
We have said previously that's bad driving, haven't we?
Yeah, so I'm admitting maybe in hindsight a little bit of regret for giving him first and second. Maybe just first would have been enough.
I feel like I foreshadowed this somehow.
Yes, you did. Oh, gosh. I don't know what to say, Louis, but yeah.
Noted.
I don't know.
Noted.
I'm not going to, noted.
Noted. Nice.
I know. So I've given my third place to Brabham as well, same as Nacho. It was such a good fight, but that silly mistake at the end cost him the win where he slid wide. So he dove down to the inside and slid wide, which I can only assume is a driver error. So that cost him the win, so he gets third. Second, I had Surtees. I said it was a great finish for the win from ninth. He had to fight hard to, and on a slipstreaming track, it's never easy to keep your spot. So I thought he deserved second, but I couldn't go past Clark for first. Still finished third. The amazing comeback drive, unlapping himself from a puncture. And, I mean, you can argue that running out of fuel so close to the end is a bit driver problem.
Right.
Yeah, but you can't go past that. I think even in Mike Lang's book, it says something like possibly one of Clark's best races, but where he didn't win. Yeah. And the fact that, I think he only finished second once in his career as well, Luigi.
So he came, what did he come third in this?
He came third, yeah.
That wouldn't be too often either. But.
No.
But the only thing I was going to challenge you on is it's more the wording you used on Brabham, calling it a silly mistake. I don't know if that's fair because I'm sure Surtees being on his bum was a huge amount of pressure. It was like a forced error. Brabham was
pressure.
Under pressure he was under pressure to do something, and he made a mistake on the final quarter. I'm just saying that's a final quarter of a 68 lap race, and according to Nacho, he finished the race.
No, I think I'm not going to note this one. I'm going to say I think you have a point there. So I probably should have put him a bit higher than third, or use the different wording. Not a silly mistake.
Like I shouldn't have said lucky for Surtees as well. Same sort of thing. I realised that was the wrong thing to do, but yeah.
All right. Well, our love for Clark and Luigi's double love for Clark has put him into probably an unsaleable lead now. He's on 123. Holmes on 69 in second, and Brabham is third on 57. And you'll notice, Luigi, I didn't give Repco any points in that race.
Yeah, that must have been hard for you.
It was. I think that was all driver effort. I don't know that Repco actually, did anything super special, so they didn't get any points.
I'm so disappointed, Rosa. You had one job, okay, to give Repco points every single race.
You were going to get shares in Repco and everything, and you've thrown it away. You've thrown it all away.
I know.
You get 0 points because you basically broke down before the finish.
Yeah, okay. I'll take that, Nacho. I'm sorry I've let you down.
Sad.
Very sad. Okay, so we're up to the 10th race of the season, the United States Grand Prix. So the Brabham duo of Holm and Brabham were leading the championship, but the Lotus duo of Hill and Clark occupied the front row of the United States Grand Prix, as has been most of this season, it seems. So Gurney started beside the Lotuses, and Gurney took second place at the start and even started pressuring the leader, Hill, in the Lotus. After 24 laps, however, Gurney, the home hero, because he's from the US, retired with a broken suspension. However, the Lotuses were showing better pace anyway, and Clark took over the lead when Hill suffered his issue with his clutch. This gave Ferrari driver Eamon a chance for second place, but his engine ran out of oil with 12 laps to go. Clark would go on to take a comfortable victory, but 2 laps from the end, his right rear suspension broke. By slowing down and managing to keep the car on track, Hill could not catch up in time, and Clark took the checkered flag. Hulme ended up finishing 3rd, a lap down, and Brabham finished 5th after qualifying 5th. So over to you, Nacho, for your top 3.
Okay. Number 3 goes to consistency wins the championship, aka home. Like it's literally that, like it's like just finishing on the points every single race. So yeah, it has to go to him. I'm going to put number 2 to Hill. Finally back in the podium after 4 races. It must have felt good, just to be there again. And number 1, it has to be Clark. All that breaking down experience just finally paid off. Like knew exactly when his car was going to explode. And he said, no, maybe I'll just slow it down a bit. So after all those races of destroying his car, he finally learned, I guess.
Well, it is more Colin Chapman's fault for giving him such a delicate car, though. But you've got a good point. Because he broke down so much, he probably asked the mechanics, what do I do if this happens? What do I do if this happens? What do I do if this happens? And he was ready for this car to have a breakdown that he could actually sort of repair on the drive. So, yeah.
I think we see that from him a lot in that Lotus, don't we? He's always driving a compromised car to places where it shouldn't finish. And this was just another example of that.
And it's interesting, Nacho, that you called out back on the podium after 4 races. I think it was more than 4 races. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He only finished it in the points 3 times in 67.
Who's that?
Graham Hill.
Oh, wow.
I'm not sure he was.
Yeah, and when I look at Clark, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, he finishes 6 times and gets 4 wins. So it just shows Hill's not had a good year. That's for sure. In the same car as Clark. So yeah, good call out for being on the podium. I think it was only 2nd time of the year.
There you go.
So yeah. So for me, I had Gurney in 3rd place. He was right up there early in the race, and he was the only car really able to take on the Lotus pair. So I'm giving him some credit for that. And I'm just trying to see what lap he retired on. I'll look it up after. Lap 25 out of 108. Yeah, that's enough.
Oh my God.
So, I was hoping for a higher number, I have to admit.
A quarter of the race.
Not even a quarter.
Not even a quarter.
Yeah, it was 25 out of 108, so 23% or something. Yeah. I had Hill in 2nd place, strong drive despite issues, and Clark for the win. Just a really strong drive and managed to win even with a very compromised car. And you have to remember in those days when those drivers didn't have radio and he wasn't calling back to the team saying, oh, I've got this issue. Hill would have been catching Clark and been wondering, he only finished about 6 seconds behind him. And I'm sure the gap was much bigger. And, he would have been thinking, I'm doing it. I'm faster than Clark, but really they find out afterwards that Clark was nursing a very damaged car. So amazing drive for Clark. And I'm seeing yours, Rosa. I'm proud of you, but you go.
You actually are? I'm struck. All right. So what I've done here is I've shared my 3rd spot between Clark and Hill. I don't remember why I did this. If I had to do it again now, I'd probably do something different. But I think I was just in a zone and I just went with it. I hope you're proud of me, Nacho. I'm redeeming myself here. And then my 2nd spot I've given to Repco. And my first spot I've given to the Ford Cosworth. So I've actually recognised the superiority of that performance from the Ford Cosworth, even being able to be driven with a broken suspension. That's saying something. But yeah, are you proud of me for giving it to Cosworth, Luigi?
Yeah, like you're not. It's because
it's not a blind kind of.
Yeah, that's where I was. You've redeemed yourself a little bit, but I know also that this 67 TP, I don't often see you giving anything to engines in the past, or in the future.
No,
so
no.
This is the 67 anomaly.
Yeah, it is a bit of an anomaly. I think it's because, Louis, I know we knew that Holm takes out the championship, but he kind of did it by stealth, didn't he? Like Clark was he was the standout driver of the season, but he didn't get the wins or the points enough to haul in Holm. So, yeah, like.
Well, I mean, Holm only won 2 races and Clark only won. Holm won 2 races and Brabham won 2 races.
Yeah, exactly.
And Clark won 4.
And Clark won 4, exactly.
And got nearly all the pole positions.
Yeah, but he didn't finish. He had less DNFs. Oh, sorry, he had more DNFs than the Repco. So, yeah, so I chose to recognise Cosworth instead of Clark here, which is a little bit against what I stand for really when it comes to Clark, because I think he is the driver of the 1960s. I don't think anyone really comes close to him. So I'll go with it because that's what I've done, but I am questioning. I'm going to have a long, hard look at myself tonight, Luigi, on those ones.
Well, there's nothing wrong with giving it to the engines. It's just...
Which engine?
Yeah, and I mean, for example, technically, when the Ferrari dominates, I don't see you giving it to the engine too much.
No.
Like you're giving it to the driver for some reason.
Yeah.
So I think your Ferrari love doesn't go so far as the engine, but most people that love Ferrari love the engine.
They do. That's true. Yeah. That is true. Yes. Yeah. All right. So after 10 races, we have Clark on 141 points. Holm is on 73. Remember, he's the actual champion. And Brabham is on 57. Repco's 4th. It's not even going to make the podium.
Yeah, Repco's beating Hill.
Yeah.
At least, Okay, so we're up to the last race of the season, the Mexican Grand Prix. And in the actual championship itself, this was actually a decider in the final race. It's always very exciting. So Holm had a 5-point lead in the standing. So Brabham needed to win this race and his teammate to finish 5th or lower. Clark started on pole position again, with Brabham and Holm down in 5th and 6th respectively. It's like this Brabham car has lost its edge in the second half of this season. Like it hasn't really been dominant at all.
Other engines start catching up to it, I think.
Yeah. So Hill took the lead, but Clark grabbed it back and grew his advantage to 7 seconds. Holm was comfortably hanging back 6 seconds behind Brabham. This is your stealth thing, Rosa. Hill retired when his drive shaft broke and had damaged his engine, and the race settled down. Clark set a new lap record and lapped everyone. Brabham finished in 2nd place. Holm finished in 3rd, enough to win the title. So, Nacho, over to you, your top 3 and why.
Okay, my number 3 goes to Hill. Even though he didn't finish the race, I am just punishing Brabham for not showing up and be the champion, right? Because he had to show up, right? And he wasn't there. So you know what, Hill, there you go. That's your number 3.
I'm gonna challenge that later. Just let you finish.
That's fair. Fair. Noted. Number 2 goes to Clark. Maybe I should have given him extra points for having the most poles in the season. Probably. He doesn't need more points anyway to win our
championship. That's true. Yeah.
But yeah, number 1, why race when you have it in the bag? Holm gets my number 1. You know, he knew he was going to win, just cruising along, you know, take 50 victory laps or whatever was it? Yeah. I mean, you have to give it to him because he is the champion. So, yeah, that's it. Let's have it, Luigi. Let's have it.
My question to you is, your first and second picks are fine. It's just that you gave Hill 3rd, and where did he retired on lap 18.
Yes.
And mainly because you've taken the stance this season of rewarding the drivers that finish the race, right?
Fair enough.
And Brabham finished the race. He came 2nd. He was the only guy on the same lap as Clark, even though he was nearly 1.5 minutes behind him. And my challenge to you is, he did show up. He turned up. He finished 2nd. He finished the race.
Finished 2nd.
Same lap as Clark.
Not the champion.
But you said didn't show up for the championship fight. Well, Clark was like whipping everyone. He was the best of everyone else.
Lapped everyone.
Yeah, Clark lapped everyone but Brabham. So I think by saying, according to your rules, Brabham should have been in your top 3 because he finished second.
I'm breaking all my rules now. It's the last.
You're getting
challenge that.
The only rule is that there are no rules.
Yeah, that's right. You can change your rules anytime you want. So, okay, that was my only challenge. Any about you, Rosa? Any challenges on Nacho?
Oh, look, I'm surprised he's left Brabham out because he finished second. But I get what he's saying. Like, I don't know, what do you think would a championship fight look like for Brabham instead of what he did, Nacho?
He had to drive faster and get first place.
Okay. That's very, very clear. Okay.
Considering that Brabham was clearly the not best car in the second half of 67.
Put a banana peel in front of I mean,
that's probably the only thing that would have stopped Clark in this race.
But let's be honest.
And he would have driven around it though. That's the problem.
That's true.
The chances of Clark like botching the car was high, but I'm just saying.
I'm also surprised that you put Clark second. Like, he lapped everyone on the field except on the track.
He lapped home as well.
He had 200 points in our TP championship. He was gonna win anyway. So.
You didn't know that.
Yeah, you've been. We can all see our picks, right?
No, we don't. We don't see. I don't see your picks.
So.
You can see your picks, yeah, but all right.
Okay, so I've got Holm in third. Solid drive for third to be the champion, and I'm acknowledging that amazing result. I had Clark in second. Really strong and dominant win, and nice to see the Lotus reliability turning a corner because I don't think there were any issues in this race for him. I think he just won the race like an old school race, like a good old 65 win. And I actually put Brabham as first, not because he came second, but more a reflection of through the year, he didn't play the I'm the boss, I'm number one, and force Holm to go behind him or
no team rules.
No team rules. He actually was quite ethical and honourable about it. So this is an emotional pick to give him first, and I'm just saying good on you for he could have... Look, let's put it this way. Using 2024 mindset, if Lawrence Stroll thought that his son Lance Stroll could be champion, there's no way that Lawrence would let the teammate beat Lance.
No, that's right. Alonso would be conceding every chance. Yeah,
correct. And we're talking 24, everyone. So Brabham didn't play that card, and he was the driver and the owner.
And he was the owner, exactly. Yep. Yeah, no, that's a good one, Luigi. I applaud you for that.
Fair game.
He probably deserved more than that, to be honest. But last race of the season, what else could I do?
Okay, well, I also gave Holm my third spot, and similar to what Nacho said, he did what he needed to do to lock away the championship. He didn't really take any risks, and he just glided it in without any risk. So that's third spot to him. I've shared my number 2 spot between Brabham and Repco. Again, that engine was just reliable, ever reliable. Got Brabham in. I've given Brabham equal points with Repco because he couldn't overpower the Ford Cosworth for the win. Like, he just couldn't catch Clark. And I gave Clark my number 1 spot. He got pole again, dominant win, absolutely caned everyone on the track. I wonder how far away he was from lapping Brabham, but I don't think our books show that, do they, Louis? I don't know. I
think he was about 6 seconds, but I'm not sure if that's during the race or the end.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But I'm sure Holm was probably just eyeballing Brabham the whole time, like within reach, sort of thing. I'm imagining. Yeah.
All right.
My only comment is, look, it's the last time we'll see it probably, but Repco. Ever reliable, but
ever reliable.
Last race doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter, no. And really, I mean, like you say, Louis, they won the 66 championship, and basically, I mean, the 66 championship wasn't because of their reliability. Was it? Oh no, they decided. What did they do? They dominated
66.
But were they slower than everyone? Just more reliable, or were they actually like? I think he went safe, didn't he? Brabham went safe with the build of that engine.
Yeah, and Brabham did win 4 races in a row, like race 3 to race whatever the next race is after second race, third race to 7th race. He won 4 races, which is the foundation of his win.
That's right. So I thought Brabham's efforts overshadowed the engine in 66, but in 67, like these two drivers, what'd you say? Brabham didn't get any wins and Holm only got 2.
Are you talking about 67? No, Brabham got
67.
2 wins.
Oh, they both got 2
Brabham
wins.
got 2. They both got 2 wins. And I think this was actually Holm's debut win when he won in Monaco in 1967. That was his first race win.
Yeah,
so he won the championship in the first year that he won his first race.
Oh, that's a good shout out.
But see the importance of being always in the points, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, he was only not in the points twice in the whole year. So pretty impressive.
All right. So we have the TP champion for 1967 is Jim Clark on 161 points. Holm is second on 89 and Brabham is third on 68 and Repco beats Hill by 1 point.
Well, I mean, Hill only got the points 3 times. So he did very well to only just lose out to the dominant engine of the season.
So in the real championship, Holm wins at 51 points. Brabham is second on 46 and Jim Clark's third on 41. So we actually, somersaulted Clark over the 2 Repco drivers.
Yeah. And just one quick call out. I see Surtees. What was Surtees driving? He was driving the Honda. He came 4th in the championship with 20 points. And in our championship, he's like 9th.
Yeah.
With, funnily enough, 20 points.
Yeah.
We were spot on with him on the points.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. In fact, he was equal with Ford Cosworth with 20 points.
Yes.
So, yeah. And a special call out to the Wandering Marshal from part 1 of this series.
Yes, that's right.
He got 10 points. Pretty impressive effort for that guy.
Yeah. Who gave points to New Zealand? I think that was you, Luigi.
I think there was a race early in the season where 3 of the top 4 were all New Zealanders.
Yes, that's right.
McLaren,
yes.
Holm,
Eamon. Yes.
Yeah. And we sort of acknowledge that special moment in time. And yeah, that's a good season. But totally dominant. Clark nearly got double the points of Holm, but yeah.
It's interesting that we just saw Clark as the true champion of this season.
Yeah, despite Nacho's change of mind about how his point scores, Clark still came through.
I mean, you did everything. You basically put Clark 1, 2, 3 on every single race. So
just once I crossed the line, once.
Well,
all right. Well, thanks, Nacho, for joining us again for this fun-filled season.
Love it. Have me again, please.
We will.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. See you next time.
Ciao.
Bye.
Bye.